how to use the Carbine in Splitgate with some tips, a guide, and gameplay backing it all up. Ladies and gents, my name is Xander, aka Diaside, and in this video it's all about using this oh so gorgeous and spectacular but also most consistent weapon in the entire game, known as the Carbine. Now I'm sure that by now, many of you have already used this thing at least once because in almost every single game mode, whether that be ranked or casual, is using the Carbine in some way, shape, and form. However, what is the weapon's TTK? When do I use it in this engagement or that engagement? Range factors, recoil, reload mechanics, and all that kind of jazz is precisely what we're going to cover this very second. So the only thing we have to do is just to simply sit back, relax, grab that Mountain Dew, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's jump right into the video. If you've watched me now for a little bit of time, you know that the very first thing I love to do is find the weapon's TTK. And so in seeing this game footage, you've already realized that this thing is then doing 40 damage for a crit and 30 for a body. Now if we were to land just body shots and body shots alone and nothing else, this weapon's body shot TTK is then going to be at 1.1 seconds. However, if you land critical headshots and just critical headshots, it's then going to do an optimal TTK at 0.73 seconds. Now I'll be honest, that right there really isn't the best. But the good news here is that really all you have to do is land 2 bodies in 1 crit and still get that same optimal TTK, because once again, every single player in this game has 100 health, and thus that then equates to 40 damage for 1 crit and 2 for a body at 30, and then you're going to down that player. Just so that none of us get confused, here's the information that I just said right there on screen. And the only other thing that I want to mention is that at the very bottom, you're then going to see one stat called frames per bullet miss. This then means that if you happen to miss even 1 bullet, you're going to then increase the weapon's TTK by 0.37 seconds, or rather 22 frames. Why do I say frames? Well, I calculate all my TTKs for this entire game and really every single game in general using a frame by frame analysis method. And that then means that I'm able to actually count each individual frame as well as the frames in between bullets, and then we're going to be precise as can possibly be, getting that spot on the money TTK. Now if you're like me, you love stats just the same way, but what those stats don't show you is really the range engagements, or rather the ranges in general, in which this Carbine is actually viable in. So the way in which I want to test this is I want to go into the shooting range, and we can see from right here, I'm going to shoot dummies 1 through 7. In every single case, I'm going to shoot 1 for a crit and 1 for a body, thus giving us the damage output at those ranges, and for every single dummy here, 1 through 7, we get the exact same damage, 40 for a crit and 30 for a body. This then means that regardless of the range, if someone's up in your face saying peekaboo, how you doing, or if someone's at cross-mat distances, almost in the shadow realm just like in Yu-Gi-Oh!, that then means that we're still going to do the exact same damage output and thus have the exact same body shot and optimal TTKs at 1.1 seconds and 0.73 seconds respectively. Just to kind of put that into perspective for you, the pistol as well as the assault rifle have massive damage fall off, especially at cross-mat distances, and so the further that you get away, their TTK is going to naturally increase, but the Carbine's is not. While we're on this exact same wavelength, the assault rifle has an optimal TTK at 0.5 seconds, whereas the pistol has one at, I believe, 0.67 seconds. And clearly, the Carbine isn't as good as this at 0.73 seconds, but once again, the Carbine can hit you at any range possible, having 0 damage fall off, always maintain that 0.73 second TTK at any range. Now the very next thing that I want to cover is rather some tips on how to use the weapon. And that really dictates one of 2 things, either hipfire or ADS. To really kind of see this more in terms of recoil control, what I want to do is I want to go once again and show you exactly the recoil via hipfire and aiming down sights. As you can tell for both the hipfire as well as the aiming down sights, they're going to be just vertical and vertical alone for this recoil, and that right there is actually spectacular. This then means that you can have a very controlled overall consistent weapon regardless of the range, also making sure that you're pacing your shots. What do I mean by that? Pacing your shots means that you're not going to panic and you're always going to maintain the rhythm of the weapon. When you can maintain the rhythm, aka shot rhythm of the weapon, you're going to land a ton more shots, and this is then going to allow you to get that optimal TTK that much more consistently, and you can practice this by number 1, timing the recoil in between shots, and also listening to when the weapon's being fired, making sure that the sound as well as the recoil is matching together, giving you a fantastic shot rhythm. If you're curious about this more in depth, maybe I can make a video on just that entirely, but the very last thing that I want to mention in regards to this is when to hipfire and when to aim down sights. If I was you, I would actually never use the weapon in close range distances because the auto rifle as well as the pistol are going to be much better. But as soon as you get to those mid-range distances, that's when this carbine is definitely going to be used, and in most cases, I would actually hip fire, unless you happen to find someone at literally opposite side of the map, and then maybe I might aim down sights. Even then, it's up to you, so just kind of use your discretion as to whether or not you want to ADS or hip fire, and all I can say is practice, practice, practice. That's going to make both these things much, much more consistent. And having said this, the next tip that I got for you is one that's actually going to pertain to the weapon's reload mechanic. When you're playing very competitive game modes like Takedown, for example, as well as in Ranked, it's going to be essential for you to capitalize on every single split second, and that includes having a faster reload speed. To be more exact, I'm going to show you what happens when you reload the weapon having the entire magazine being fired, as well as having at least one bullet left in the magazine. When you fire the entire magazine and then reload, you have to have a longer duration for the reload mechanic because you have to actually pull back the pin on the weapon, as you guys just saw. However, as long as you leave one bullet in the magazine, which is very easy to do with the carbine, you're then going to increase the reload speed significantly because you no longer have to worry about that pin, and it decreases the reload speed overall significantly. I can't tell you how many times this one little mechanic has saved my bacon, so much to the point that I'm going to unleash Chucky and say, "Surprise! Gotcha!" In addition to this though, there's actually one more thing that I want to talk about, and that is the magazine size with this reload speed. You're always going to have 15 bullets in the magazine, and that's actually enough to down 4 players if you land nothing but body shots and body shots alone. However, if you happen to land some crits and some bodies, because remember, all you simply need is 1 crit and 2 bodies to still down somebody for the optimal TTK at 0.73 seconds, you can actually down up to 5 players in 1 magazine, and that right there is just outstanding. Whenever you can go from engagement to engagement to engagement, never really having to reload, that's going to be ideal not just for you, but also for your team, because as we all know, team shots are absolutely essential, and this carbine is no different. Speaking of team shots, if you and your teammates happen to land 3 bullets, 1 crit and 2 bodies combined, this weapon cumulatively can down players in literally 0.37 seconds. I know that's crazy and it's going to be insane, but once again, you have to have team shots in order for that to happen. Likewise, if you happen to miss even 1 bullet when you're just by yourself, the weapon's TTK is going to go up significantly by 0.37 seconds, and that right there is atrocious. So make sure that you're landing your shots with this thing, because if you miss, it's going to punish you severely. You don't want that, I don't want that, nobody wants that. So take your time, master shot rhythm, and land those shots. And having heard all this fluff Kevin Strat shenanigans, you're probably thinking to yourself, is the carbine viable or is it not? The answer to that question is 110% yes. Do not count out the carbine just because it happens to have a higher TTK than most weapons, because remember, this weapon's range is literally optimal at any range possible, making it very viable, and that includes every map in this entire game, especially when you combine with team shots. Oh boy, this thing's going to be a powerhouse. With this, I open up the floor to you, my friends. And so let me know your thoughts about this down in the comment section below. Did you like the video? Did you not? Do you want to see some more stats? Do you want to see some more tips? Whatever it is, by all means, let me know, and no matter what you guys say, you always know that I'm going to respect your opinions. That is something that I can guarantee. That's much all I've got for you as of right now, Diaslayers. And so as always, GG, TNT.